Welcome to the Making Money in the Music Business podcast, where we share insightful views on a variety of topics in the music industry that can help you make more money from your music business. And now, here are your hosts, Dr. William E. Smith and Kenya McGuire Johnson.
Hey, Kenya.
Dr. Smith, how are you?
I'm good. We're back.
We are back again with we have another guest.
Yes, we do.
Another guest. And this is one of our Artists on the Rise features. You guys know we've got these little themes going on this season. So I'm excited because this artist, as people will see, is like family to me. Y'all know we bring in family. We bring in, yes, and we got some good family, some really great family. But before we do that, before we bring him in the room, what's our music tip?
Well, jumping off what we talked about in our previous podcast, you were mentioning you wanted to do charts on your own. So the main software that people use is Sibelius to write charts, and Finale is another one. It may take a little learning curve to learn those, and it could be pricey to some degree, but there's a free one online that I basically used and for my students this semester, which is Muse Score, MUSE and SCORE, Muse Score, and it's online software, and it's free, so you can use it and score your music. So write your own arrangements.
Come on.
I'm big on free.
Free, and your students are happy. Because you didn't have it like that when you were in school. You had to literally sit down.
Yeah, well, the thing is, it's during the pandemic. They don't have access to the lab, and we got everything in the lab. We got Pro Tools, Logic, Reason, and Sibelius, and all of that on the computers, but they don't have it. So I had to find some other options for them, and that's one of the ones that we use.
That's awesome. I mentioned this in the last podcast that this can be a side gig. Right. That you could be offering as you would be the person being responsible for charting people's stuff. And quite frankly, you should not have any song ever out without a chart. Every song should have a chart to it. So, yeah. All right. I love it. Thank you for following up as I requested.
Welcome. It's my pleasure.
All right, on to our guest. So as I mentioned before, we're doing this series where we're bringing in artists on the rise, artists who are grinding and developing and creating, but maybe not everybody knows them yet, but they're on a pathway. And so our artist this week is Mr. Ashley. I almost want to sing because he sings.
Sing it.
Ashley Scott, he's an amazing musician. I'm going to say musician, not just artist, and fellow HU.
Fellow HU.
Oh, come on now. So,
but you also got to add in fellow HGC.
Fellow HGC. We have to do all the tones.
All that stuff.
So welcome, Ashley.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm glad to be here with you guys finally.
Yeah.
I've watched all these episodes. I'm like, I'm going to get on there one day, and I'm here.
Listen, manifestation that's what it's all about. That's what we go there. So get ready. But yeah, so if you could just share with our audience, let them know, yes, what it is you do as an artist. And this is a big question, but we always want to hear the story and, what brought you to music? How did you get into music?
How much time do we have?
I know we don't have much time.
I know. I'm gonna try to give you the condensed version.
Okay.
So my name is Ashley Scott from Philadelphia, a very soulful town known for its rich R&B history. And I'm a graduate of Howard University, as Kenya said, was a member of the Howard Gospel Choir as well. Got my degree in music from there. I've released so far about 3 singles to date. My next one comes out in the year of 2021 on April 23rd, so I'm excited about that. I have my own label, Soulful Sounds International Records. And musically, I have recorded background vocals for people like Will Downing on some of his latest projects. I've also done some work with an indie artist like Shavu out of Philadelphia from back in 2006. And I've done some live things with Gene Carn and actually Will Downing as well. So,
Nice.
I've been around for a little bit, But
A little
what
bit.
brought me to music, I would say, I was, again, being from Philadelphia, I was blessed to have family that was already in the business. And through that family, I also knew that this was a business and not just about performance. But my dad's sister, when she was 15 years old, she joined a female singing group back in 1963. And that group is still performing till this very day. So they're the longest running female vocal trio in music history. They're called the 3 Degrees, and they're known for the song When Will I See You Again, as well as the song TSOP, which is the theme song to the TV show Soul Train. So,
Oh,
yeah, so that's
that's
them
just a
going.
small, just a little small little thing, but okay.
But, being a kid in the family, when parents go see other siblings and stuff and they just put the kids in a room to watch TV, I was watching one of her performances from 1979 at the Royal Albert Hall in London. And that concert was a made-for-TV special for the BBC at that time, and they were backed by a 100-piece Royal Philharmonic Orchestra. So seeing that show and just every aspect of it, the lighting, the production, their performance as a whole, their harmonies, their music, the arrangement, I just said I want to do this. And that was my inspiration, and that was the bug that bit me. And my mom also grew up with the Delphonics in Philadelphia, so they're like extended uncles to me. And both groups have a rich history. They're still active today, performing. And they've had their things that some people know and some don't. But in terms of, you can go look at the Delphonics Unsung to kind of see that the litigation and things that they went through internally as a group, and the things that they still deal with now with group impersonators and things of that nature. So that's how I knew that this was a business.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, that's I teach this in my class. I teach the whole Philadelphia International Records story in I got a Black contemporary music class, and we talk about Gamble and Huff and the development of the label. And that the sound of Philadelphia, that's amazing that you got that lineage, man. And it's I know a lot of it's rubbed off, like you just said, about the business concepts, and how, because they ran PIR as a business, and they built it off of the Motown. It was the Motown concept.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's definitely the approach that a lot of people were trying to aspire to, and Gamble and Huff got it down. And we had Cynthia Biggs L on the show, and she wrote
Right.
the song for Patty, and a bunch of other pieces.
Yeah, Nights of Egypt.
Yeah, exactly. So she gave some inside stories, and it was great to have some of those things. But Kit, does your family talk about some of the stories of the label that you can remember?
Not so well. So coincidentally, about my aunt, she was actually took a break during that time that they were signed to PIR, but she was in the group when they first started, when they were 15 years old. So they first started on a label called Swan Records in Philadelphia, and it was owned by Dick Clark.
Yeah.
And it was actually the first label that the Beatles signed to when they came to America.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So the 3 Degrees recorded about maybe 19 singles or 45 records for Swan, and she was on about 15 to 17 of them. And when they were on Swan, they worked with a very young piano player from Camden, New Jersey, named Leon Huff, who was their first arranger before he met Kenny Gamble. So she came back to the group in 1976, and it was right after the group left Philly International. They were still signed to Columbia or Epic or Sony, if you will, at that time. And after she did one album with them, when she first came back, but then they signed to another label called Areola, and they had another run of hits with Giorgio Moroder, who produced all the hit songs for Donna Summer. So he kind of gave them that Euro disco feel. So go think, Hot Stuff, Bad Girls, that type of thing. And they had 4 top 10 hits with him over 2 albums between 78 and 80. And during that time, they met Prince Charles, and Prince Charles declared them as his favorite singing group.
Wow.
So their nickname in the British press was Charlie's Angels.
Oh, that's
awesome.
And every article always started off, Prince Charles's favorite pop group, the 3 Degrees, are appearing here or are appearing there, or they have a new record coming out. And so they performed at Buckingham Palace for his 30th birthday party in 1978, and they were the only Americans, other than President Reagan's wife Nancy, to attend the royal wedding of Prince Charles and Princess Diana.
Wow, that's some phenomenal history.
Yeah, you have to have her on the podcast.
Oh, I was about to say,
yeah. She can be a future guest. Yeah. So they never stopped working. The group has performed everywhere in the world, somewhere in the world, every year since 1963, which is giving them the title of the longest running female vocal trio in music history.
Wow.
So, wow. That's some history, man.
That's like serious. Yeah.
They had a great sound. They didn't have the hits that, over here stateside. They were taught by real quick on them. Their ex-manager was a guy named Richard Barrett, and he was the guy that discovered Frankie Lyman in The Teenagers. So if you saw the Why Do Fools Fall in Love movie, Ben Vereen played Richard Barrett. And he also, Richard had a group in the 50s called the Valentines, and he recorded with them. But he also wrote a song called Maybe for the Chantels in the 1950s. And so Maybe was considered a rock and roll classic, and the Chantels were the model girl group that everybody followed. So the Supremes, everybody followed after them. So when he got with them, he taught my aunt to be a performing act. And he said, if you can entertain an audience, you can work for the rest of your life. And a hit record is just icing on the cake to create more work.
Right. And I'm gonna have to have you talk to my class, because we have a section on doo-wop, and it seems
let's do that.
You're the authority on that information. So,
and I'm developing my own class, so I definitely want to talk to you about bringing that to Bowie and see how I can also get it at Howard. So it's called the Soulful Sound Series, and I am developing that, and that's what my podcast is, as well as the radio show that's coming out soon between February and March.
So I'm gonna listen to that for sure. This
is so see artists on the rise, and historian. You need to be putting some kind of label on yourself in terms of that was just a really rich amount of history that I think people coming. Well, let's talk. So let's we got all like, let's get back to Ashley. So yes, you went to Howard. Maybe tell us a little bit about how you've prepared. You've got this family history, obviously, that's very dynamic. And I don't know if that can be intimidating even at times, but what did you, having that history, when you got to Howard and stuff, what was your kind of original goal? Has it always been, I'm just going to go straight for artist, or how did you kind of navigate and decide this is the lane, or maybe you didn't? What was going on then?
I have to, looking back, I just knew that I always wanted to sing. That was the main thing, seeing the 3 Degrees and the Delphonics, of course, I wanted my own trio male group to kind of, I just like the look of it, but groups are hard. Having with those groups, having been together so long and have, a revolving door of members at times, I know that it's not easy. And so I had to learn that the hard way after college when I tried to do the group thing. But going into Howard, it was just an amazing experience. Going there and becoming a member of the Howard Gospel Choir, as you know, Kenya, that just gave us, and I'll say us because you're included in that legacy, it gave us a discipline of and appreciation for just being a vocalist as a whole, learning under Paul Gatling and, later Mark Williams and David Dupree. Just that history of music, just another genre for me. And then going into the jazz department, and for me, learning under Grady Tate, who was the most recorded jazz drummer ever, but could sing the telephone book, and he just knew every jazz tune and could scat with the best of them. And also learning under Webster Lewis, who was a dynamic, arranger and keyboardist. And it was funny, Webster had 4 albums on Sony back in the day, but we were like, did you produce any hits? Or, who have you worked with? He said, I used to conduct for Barry White's orchestra. And we were like, oh, wow. You conducted Love Unlimited. He said, yeah, and I wrote this song. I'm telling my age a little bit, but this was in the 90s. So he said, yeah, I wrote this song, and, those 2 girls that you guys listened to, they sampled it. We're like, who? He goes, I can't remember their name. He said, but, so he started playing the song, do-do-do-do-do-do-do. He ended up writing Michael Wyckoff's Hey, Here's Looking Up to You, which was sampled by Jeanne for Hey Mr.
I was going to say Jeanne. Yeah.
So just all of that being poured into one person, and then having family history, in there, it was just a whole lot. So it also rubbed off on me musically as well, because now my creative approach is a traditional approach where I use live instrumentation on my music. I have to have strings in there. I have to have horns if needed. And the music has to be as authentic and as live as possible. Nothing against programming or sounds. I mean, I love the Fender Rhodes sound as a keyboard, because it gives you a warm feeling for the song. But again, going back to me being 3 years old, watching that tape of the 3 Degrees at the Royal Albert Hall, my dream is to perform my music with an orchestra. So I want it to be as authentic and musical as possible, to be able to be charted out for that many people to read. I don't want to depend on a certain sound from a certain technological keyboard from a certain time period that might be outdated at times to get and hard to replicate in future sounds. So that's just how I choose my creative approach.
Man, I don't know if you know, but I was also in HGC too, so I know the
he left before.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's okay. He left before. I was trying to figure it out, because Will's like, I don't think I remember him. I was like, no, Ashley's a little younger than us. Yes, we are the old heads, right. Up in here, but yeah.
No, but I also got my own Grady Tate story, because
oh wow, okay.
I thought I was trying to be all cool and big, and I was picking him up from the train station because he was going to teach a class at Howard, and I told him, I think he called the office or something, and I told Irby or somebody that I was going to go down and pick him up. So they were like, cool, okay. Well, they said, Will's going to go down and pick you up. So I went down there, got him up, and I forgot what street we were on. My car broke down.
Oh.
And I was like, man, I'm sorry, Mr. Tate. I'm sorry. So he had to get a cab back to the university, and I'm stuck there trying to figure out my car situation. But that's hilarious, man. But yeah, Grady is a master, man. He's
he's the one that taught me the importance of lyrics, and to really know what you're singing. I mean, one day I went into Grady used to cuss us out, in the private lessons. So, it was like I went in there one day, I knew the song, like, when I fall in love, it'll be forever. He goes, okay, man. He goes, have you ever effing been in love, man? He said, look at this stuff here on the paper, man. You got to feel this stuff, man. I'm saying stuff to, not say other words that he was saying to me at the time.
Of course.
But he goes, come on, man. Hit it from the top again, man. So it was, but
that's perfect. Yeah.
He was a great dude. He was a great guy.
Yeah,
and I just consider myself lucky to learn from such a legend.
Yep. Most definitely.
Awesome.
Yeah, but so Kenya brought you up to this point. You're developing at Howard. You're getting your skills together, and you've made your decision. And I think similarly, I had when I heard Duke Ellington's 70th birthday concert in Satin Doll, just the big band sound, and then you heard Wild Bill Davis come in on organ. I was just completely blown away, and that you could have that much sonority going on, just a
Yeah.
big sound. And I think it's similar situation with you. I got bit by the bug. I
Yeah.
was like, this is what I want to do. That's I'm going to learn how to do that. And yeah, so when you're developing your craft and you left school and you're trying to look for the opportunities, what was the first big break in for you that you feel that sort of gave you the confidence to know, yeah, okay, I'm on the path, I can do this thing?
Well, actually, life took a different turn a little bit in college because my summer times were spent here in Philadelphia learning the business or a certain aspect of the business. So I ended up working here in Philadelphia at an amphitheater that's almost like the Carter Barron that has a rich summer concert series. And through there, I learned how to run a venue, contracts, production, production times, and just learning that aspect of the business and promotion and concert promotion all, as a whole. And so that became a good portion of my life every summer in college and then for a little bit afterwards. um, I came home wanting to work with producers again. We tried the group thing, and that just didn't work out. And so after trying the group thing for a while, that's when my creativity came out a lot more because I started writing my own songs and things of that nature. Um, it was a little tough at that time because you're talking the whole neo soul movement was happening here, and that wasn't necessarily my sound because I don't really have that hip hop edge or flow to my music. I'm a little bit more traditional, and the music I love was way before my time. I
Mm.
came up in the '90s and in the 2000s, and I love what was going current at the time, but it just wasn't what I just didn't fit that mold. And so you kind of, I'm just being transparent. You just, juggle where do you fit in this current state,
Mhm.
and the internet was prevalent, um, streaming was coming out, at least illegal streaming with Napster and things of that nature.
Yeah.
But it's just like, where do you fit in this industry? Make people were still pursuing major deals. People were independent, but it wasn't as preached as it is now, or at least up until like 5 or 6 years ago. Maybe 10 years ago. So I struggle with that. So I was, recording material, and I had about 5 songs, and I was ready to put out an EP, and just come to find out a few other mentors were like, this could use a little bit more work, and that just got me a little bit more depressed. So I was always
Mm.
performing here on the private affairs scene, or if you want to jokingly call me the wedding singer. I was doing the wedding band thing for a while, so I was always performing, but the recording aspect took a little while. It wasn't until about 5 years ago to where I said, you know what, people are putting out far less quality than I would and going viral and becoming famous. So,
Mm.
somebody in the world is going to like my stuff. And I put out my first single, Words, in 2016, and through my production company at the time. And it did pretty well overseas. I got it on the Luxury Soul 2017, no, yeah, 2017 compilation. And I recorded another song. I actually took some guys in the studio to recut all those old demos that I did years ago with a live band. So that's what I'm in the process of working on and releasing now, because at least half the stuff is done. I just got to add vocals to it and other arrangements. But I released a song in 2020 called Dance the Night Away that was actually co-written by Will Downing and myself, and it made it to the top 10 on the UK Soul Chart. So last year, at the start of last year, right before this pandemic hit, I was doing all right. And then we couldn't perform anymore. And all my wedding gigs last year got canceled.
Mm,
But I was riding high for a little bit. I put out a dance remix for it in June, and some people liked it and got some airplay on some internet stations in Italy.
okay.
And, so that's been part of the journey. But I would say coming out of college, I got shifted more to the business side and became known more so on that side of the fence than the creative. But so, I had to kind of go through some stuff to kind of get to where you are now.
Awesome.
Awesome.
It's so good to hear these stories because, people I know, just have, and just fans have this idea that as artists, you just, it's just this straight shot, or you're just constantly working on the song or whatever. But
No.
there's just so many twists and turns. But ultimately, all those skills, all those relationships, they come
Yeah.
together so that,
Yeah.
yeah. I'd love for you to share. You've mentioned the name Will Downing several times. You've kind of thrown that name. That's just one of only soul R&B's like top male, legendary, iconic artists. We've had the honor of having him on our podcast,
Yeah.
which through your connection and our relationship. So thank you,
No
again and
problem.
again for that. But again, we gonna put in some perspective. How did you and how has that how was that established? And
Truth.
how has that, I think, impacted you, as an artist, that relationship?
What can I say? It actually goes back to Howard University and Webster Lewis at the time. He had our class was the jazz vocal workshop class, and Webster was one of the only Webster and Grady were one of the few of the only staff members that had a lot of industry experience and more commercial experience. And so Webster brought two people to the music department to lecture to us on the entertainment industry overall. One was a guy named Bob Pittman, who was the founder of MTV, but later at that time was CEO of AOL and Time Warner, and
Wow.
he brought Will Downing and to the school. And at that time, Webster had did some string arrangements on Will Downing's Invitation Only album, on his interpretation of the Phyllis Hyman Spinner song "I Don't Want to Lose You." So that's where I met him, and he helped us record some stuff for the Jazz Ensemble CDs about a year later. And I saw him once after college, and he remembered me, and just kind of kept in touch here and there, So, and the relationship just grew. And so, about maybe 7 years ago, I was working with another jazz artist, and I was just checking in with him, and he's saying, "Yeah, I'm trying to do this with my records and everything, and I need some help with this social media stuff." And I said, "Let me know what you need." And so I started working with him, and it went from just doing his social to being his assistant. And I do a lot of internal things, admin stuff for him as well as his social media. And he always knew I sang because that's how he met me, So when he was recording his Black Pearls project in 2016, I was already working with him. He said, "Hey, you want to, come up and do some recording?" I said, "Of course, no problem." Yes, sir. You don't have to ask me twice.
Exactly.
But he
Right.
goes, "All right." He said, "Come on up tomorrow." I said, "Okay." And I knew what the project was. And for those that don't know, in 2016, he released a whole CD of interpretations by female artists, which is kind of what
Right.
he's known to do.
Yeah.
So, I said, "All right, you need me to, you want to tell me what the song is just so I can kind of get an idea beforehand?" He goes, "No, no, just come on up. I already know what you want. I already know what I want you to do. You don't need to listen to anything because I don't want you to get thrown off on arrangements and things of that nature." So went up and, put the headphones on. He goes, "All right, here's the song." And it was Your Smile.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
and coincidentally, that's another Howard along with Miss Angela Winbush right there.
Hmm.
Yeah.
She alone.
Yeah.
So
Look at this. I'm telling you,
it
Howard's
just,
just.
All roads
yeah,
lead to Howard.
yeah.
You're
And
right.
so I did that one, and then I did some background on his gospel project in 2018 on a song called "Take It to the Cross," and I've been working with him. And I guess seeing him on the creative side and being, you know, kind of privy to that side of him, and being, doing vocals on some of those records, I kind of saw how he works. And he's one of the hardest working men in the business. Um, he's definitely taught me how to be a visionary and to kind of know what you want and to kind of take ownership of your brand and of your music. So it's almost as if he's the producer of his own music. He can play a little bit, but he brings in the players to get the results. And he knows who he wants on what track. And it's almost like, music is the art, so it's almost like painting a picture. So he knows who he wants to bring in every color to make the painting, So, and in terms of recording and songwriting, sometimes less is best, especially when making the chorus of a song. We hear all these extravagant vocals and harmonies and stuff like that, and we want to throw all this stuff in, and he goes, no, man, you got to establish the song first. You got to let them sing it through, and do some stuff later in the song. So, that's kind of what I've learned from him on the musical side.
Awesome. Yeah, that's all good tips for folks, and it's beautiful to see how you developed from getting the family poured into by the family, and then being at the illustrious Howard University.
Yes, because we're presidential people right now.
This is listen.
We're going to be insufferable for the next 4 years.
I know we were already. All my friends were already on, in the suffer space. So I'm attempting to stay, humble and modest.
But we are a presidential people now.
I just slightly put on my Howard, shirt every day. Just that's all.
Yeah. School pride is at an all-time high thanks to our vice president.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. But looking to the next few years in terms of your career and what you're working on now, what you're projecting your trajectory is. What are your hopes for after COVID, and what you're trying to do musically, and try to put out what projects you're trying to put out and performances that you're hoping to have?
So for 2021, I'm planning at least three singles to release this year. The first one will be April 23rd. I'm predicting hopefully a summer and a fall, before, Christmas time, because as Kenya says, we don't want to, be in cahoots with the Christmas folks on the charts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But, so I have two mid-tempos. One is and the third one is a ballad that I'm really excited about. It's a wedding song. And so it's very Philadelphia, you know what I mean? I did, get some live strings and horns on this one.
Oh, wow.
So, the horn section, there's some awesome musicians that you see with John Legend. The string section was amazing. The rhythm section was amazing, co-written by my friend Stan Davis and I. So I'm excited about this wedding song coming out.
Nice.
In terms of getting past COVID, which I, can't wait till we get to that point. But I'm curious to see what that's going to be, honestly, because normal for what we knew to be may not be after that. So I just want to get back to performing. That's the main thing.
Yeah.
I pray that, these singles that I'm planning on releasing do, just build up my catalog a lot more and build up my presence to where I can start doing more international dates. I extremely love the UK because they're such a supportive, folks over there, and that I learned not just from my aunt but also through Kenya. And so I have to give her kudos because she's also a huge inspiration in terms of this artistry. She may not even know that, but I've been studying her a little bit. So, I've been studying Miss Kenya a lot for the past couple of years, and certain things that I'm doing right now are moves that I saw her make that I said, okay, let me try this a little bit. So my next single is all live instrumentation, but I'm targeting a specific genre, not just the soul genre, but I'm definitely targeting the smooth jazz crowd a little bit on this next one. So, it will be on radio airwaves, in the US as well as the UK. So I'm looking forward to this next one.
Yeah, it's
April
a goodie.
20th.
I got to hear I don't know if it was the mastered, but
I think it was the final mix or the master, one of them.
Yeah, I think it might have been the final mix, but I get privileges. Yeah, no, I'm excited for you. I think that's awesome. And it's, we've been attempting to bring in guests who are still working and showing that, you can do this even during COVID, that, being a creative and being an artist is really, really important. So that's awesome. That's awesome.
I've been very creative. Like I said, I still have songs, those old demos that I was trying to get to, but like I just wrote this wedding song, and right now I'm just about, doing singles because I don't want songs to get lost on an album at this point. I want to make every song count and let every song be heard. So I feel a big band song coming this year, if not next year as well. I'm not afraid to try things at this point. So.
Well, we're going to be wrapping up here in a minute, but I'm really glad that you allowed yourself to be who you are musically. When you were talking about not being that neo soul flow or hip hop edge or whatever. And, I know that's discouraging if that's the thing that is the thing, right then and there. But now look at the thing, it's, it's not necessarily the thing. And so it's really important to, to find your lane and blossom in it, even if it's not the most popular, or even if it can. And I don't even think that it's not. I think that it's just about figuring out that audience, because the music that you do has, and the UK has shown that. I think a lot of places abroad have shown that there is the audience, and we get really confused and caught up in thinking that what we just see here in our little space of America, or our little mainstream of 5 networks, that's music. And it's like, no, music is just incredibly vast. So, I hope that the audience and the listeners, if be inspired by that, whatever it is that is your butter, that's where you're going to shine. That's Will called you for that backup because he needed that sound, and he knew that about you. Yeah. And so, we have to really hold on and have our integrity there. So.
Definitely.
Amen. What Kenya said.
Amen, Reverend Kenya.
No, I said I might have to have a ministry in a minute. I mean,
if I had a keyboard, I would play a shout chord for you.
Hey, that's what I'm about to say. I hear it in the background already.
Dun, dun, dun. Dun, 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 dun,
dun. Where's my piano? Anyway.
Get the washboard out. No.
Oh, wow.
I could at least have a tambourine. I think I should. I'm gonna get a tambourine just to hold on the side for the podcast. But anyway, well, this has been fantastic, and our interviews go so fast. I'm looking at the clock. I'm like, oh my gosh, it goes by so fast. We would love for you to, because you've got, like you said, you got new music coming out this year, and we want to make sure that people are. I'm going to include this in the show notes, but I think it's important to say it out loud. Where the website where they can find you, and any social media handles where they can follow you.
So my website is ashleyscottmusic.com. On Twitter and Instagram, I'm Ashley Scott, the number 3. So Ashley Scott 3. And on Facebook, it's facebook.com. I am Ashley Scott for my fan page over there.
Awesome. Well, make sure you guys follow, like, listen, stream, buy, all the goods. It's really, really important. Now that you have been a guest, you will be added to our 3MB artists or podcast artists Spotify playlist. So words, those songs, we add them on, and we're getting more and more people listening. And if I have to say so myself, that playlist is the bomb. I'm like, we have had some amazing artists up in here because, Will is on there, you'll be on there. It's just it's really fun. So make sure we include that as well in our show notes. So thank you. And I'm sending, I'm here. I'm sending you always huge positive vibes. And yes, so keep moving, keep pushing. Love you too.
We're rooting for you too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we're presidential people.
How many times did we say? We did at least 5.
We have to keep them on their toes.
That's awesome.
Hilarious.
That was great. Well, we had another great episode, Kenya.
I know, Will. We just and it will continue. We're continuing to bring really special guests on, and you'll hear just from Will and I too. We got to do our special topics. Those will be coming up as well. So, all right, you guys, stay tuned. Make sure you're liking us, subscribing, downloading, all the goods.
All the above. And we will see you all next week.
All right. Bye.
Alrighty. Bye.
Thank you for listening, and we hope you enjoyed this podcast episode. Please subscribe to our podcast on your podcast player and leave us a rating and review. Also, please leave us a comment on our Facebook or Instagram page. And if you would like to contact us about a specific topic, you can email us at 3mbpodcast@gmail.com.